Venezuela shut down their radar to hide, but it was a fatal mistake. The minimum wave eye saw right through the jungle, turning a giant war machine into a pile of scrap.
January 3rd, 2026, 6:12 a.m. The Orinoco Delta, Venezuela, Sector Bravo 9. To understand the physics of this engagement, you first have to understand the air itself. In this part of the world, the atmosphere does not feel like a gas. It feels like a solid object. The humidity is sitting at 98%. The ambient temperature is 85 degrees Fahrenheit, but the heat index pushes it well over 100. It is a wet, suffocating blanket that clings to metal and clogs human lungs. In this specific grid square, deep beneath the triple canopy jungle, the natural, organic smells of rotting vegetation and wet earth are being overpowered by something artificial, something industrial. It is the smell of a machine waiting to kill. It smells of heated hydraulic fluid, heavy grease, and the faint metallic tang of high-voltage generators running at idle to keep the electronics dry. It is the scent of stored energy. Hidden beneath layers of thermal masking camouflage nets is a system that NATO planners fear more than almost any other ground asset. It is the S-300VM ANTE-2500. If you watch the news, you are used to seeing the S-300 on wheeled trucks stuck on paved roads in Eastern Europe. Forget that image. This is not that system. This is the VM variant. It sits on a massive MTT-tracked chassis, a 47-ton steel beast derived from the T-64 main battle tank lineage. Why does this matter? Because wheels get stuck in the Venezuelan mud, tracks do not. This machine is designed to crawl through swamps, climb 40-degree inclines, and hide in places where satellites cannot find it. It is a predator that carries its own road. At the center of this steel constellation sits the heart of the trap, the 9 S-300VM grill pan radar vehicle. It is a terrifying piece of electromagnetic engineering. Look at the radar face. It is not a spinning dish like you see in movies. It is a flat, gray slab. This is a space-fed transmission lens. It stares silently at the sky. Inside that antenna face, thousands of tiny ferrite phase shifters, specifically Faraday rotators, are manipulating microwave energy. By applying a magnetic field to these rods, the radar computer can delay or advance the radio waves, steering the beam electronically. This happens in microseconds. The radar can look left, right, up, and down without the heavy turret ever physically moving. It allows the system to interleave tasks. 1 millisecond it is searching, the next it is tracking, the next it is guiding. It is scanning for a ghost, and the ghost is already here. Go up, way up. 35,000 feet above the Caribbean Sea, the stratosphere. Inside the cockpit of an F-35C Lightning II, the reality is the exact opposite of the sweating jungle below. It is cold, it is sterile, and above all, it is quiet. Hollywood has lied to you about what it feels like to fly a fifth-generation fighter. There is no deafening roar, there is no shaking. The Pratt & Whitney F-135 engine is not screaming, it is humming. The pilot is flying in a state known as intermittent supercruise. He is moving at Mach 1.2, about 900 miles per hour, without using his afterburners. In a normal jet, going supersonic requires dumping raw fuel into the exhaust, creating a massive explosion out the back that sounds like the sky is tearing apart. But the F-35C is different. In dry thrust, the pilot hears a deep, pervasive terrestrial rumble. It is a hollow thrum that travels through the airframe, up the ejection seat rails, and vibrates directly into his ribcage. He is the quarterback of this game, but he is not the bait. 25,000 feet below him, plodding through the heavy, dense air at a slow 200 knots, is the MQ-9 Reaper drone. From a tactical perspective, this is the classic hawk and tethered goat strategy. The Reaper is the goat. It is flying low. It is loud on radar. It is essentially a flying billboard that screams, "I am here." The F-35 is the hawk. It is perched high in the thin air, circling, maintaining high kinetic energy. It is using the drone to force the enemy to reveal themselves. The US Navy knows the S-300 is down there, but they cannot kill what they cannot see. They need the Venezuelan operator to turn on his radar. They need him to get greedy. They are trading a $30 million drone for the chance to kill a $150 million strategic asset. Let's analyze the matchup. This is a collision between two eras of physics. On the ground, the S-300VM is armed with the 9 M82M Giant missile. This weapon is a masterpiece of Soviet brute force. It weighs 4,600 kilograms. It is the size of a telephone pole. It has two stages. The first stage is a massive conical booster that punches it through the dense lower atmosphere. The second stage is a ramjet sustainer that accelerates it to a staggering 2,600 meters per second. That is Mach 7.6. Think about that speed. At Mach 7.6, the air cannot move out of the way fast enough. It compresses, it turns into plasma. The skin of the missile glows white hot from friction. It covers 200 kilometers in less than 2 minutes. If this missile launches, the blue force has a problem. You cannot outrun it. You cannot outturn a missile that pulls 30 Gs. You are simply a math problem it has already solved. But inside the internal weapons bay of the F-35, hiding in the dark, is the American answer. The AGM-88G. The AARGM-ER. The G stands for the variant. The ER stands for extended range. But the range is not the killer feature. The killer feature is the nose cone. Inside, there is a millimeter wave radar seeker. In the old days, anti-radiation missiles were passive. They just listened for enemy radar signals. If the enemy turned off their radar, the missile went blind and fell into the dirt. It was a game of peekaboo. The AGM-88G changes the rules. It has an active eye. If the S-300 crew shuts down their system to hide, this missile does not go blind. It wakes up. It emits its own high-frequency radar waves. It scans the ground through fog, smoke, and camouflage. It builds a high-resolution 3D point cloud of the terrain. It knows what a 9 S-32ME radar truck looks like. It knows the shape of the chassis. It knows the angle of the antenna. It is a weapon that says, you can turn off the lights, but I can see in the dark. The stage is set. The drone is the worm. The S-300 is the fish. And the F-35 is the fisherman standing on the bank with a shotgun. Suddenly, the silence in the cockpit breaks. The radar warning receiver, the RWR, comes alive. Chirp, chirp, chirp. On the digital display, a symbol appears. GP, grill pan. The periodic chirp means the radar is sweeping. It is searching. The beam is brushing past the drone every few seconds. The pilot's pulse stays steady. He is trained for this, but his hand tightens slightly on the stick. He checks his altitude, 35,000 feet. He's in the perfect position. The audio shifts. The chirp stops. It is replaced by a sound that every pilot dreads. A continuous, high-pitched warble. A solid tone that cuts through the headset like a knife. Lock on. The S-300 has stopped searching. It has focused all its energy on the Reaper drone below. It is burning through the electronic noise. It is ready to kill. Magnum, the pilot whispers. Magnum, rifle. He presses the release button. Now, we must slow down time. We must look at the mechanics of the next 3 seconds. The weapons bay doors of the F-35 snap open. This is not a smooth process. When those doors open into a supersonic airstream, it creates a chaotic acoustic phenomenon called Rossiter modes. The air inside the bay resonates like a blown jug, but at 170 decibels. This is not just noise. This is a physical pressure wave powerful enough to rupture lungs and pulverize bone structure instantly if a human were exposed to it. The plane shudders physically as the aerodynamics are ruined for a split second. Then, the pneumatic rams fire. Thump. The missile is not ignited inside the bay, it is punched out. Heavy-duty pistons shove the missile downward with 30 Gs of force, ensuring it clears the aircraft's structure and the turbulent boundary layer. For half a second, the missile falls in silence. Then the dual-pulse rocket motor ignites. A smokeless flash. A kick of acceleration. The AGM-88G leaps forward, climbing into the stratosphere, hunting for the source of that radar beam. The trap is sprung, but on the ground, the Venezuelan commander has already turned the key. The duel has begun. The jungle floor erupts. The launch of an S-300VM is not a simple rocket ignition. It is a violent, two-step ballet of physics known as a cold launch. Inside the vertical tube, a gas generator detonates at the bottom of the canister. It produces a massive spike of pressure, but no fire. Boom! It sounds like a tank gun firing a blank, a hollow, percussive impact that shakes the leaves off the nearby trees. The massive 4-ton missile is heaved upward. It exits the tube at 20 meters per second. It looks impossibly heavy, hanging in the air like a floating building. It reaches the apex of its ejection, about 30 meters up. For a split second, it is dead in the air. Zero gravity. Then, the orientation thrusters fire. Hiss pop. Small gas jets at the tail kick the bottom of the missile. The nose tips over, pointing toward the target intercept point. And then, the world ends. The main solid fuel motor ignites. Roar. This is not sound. This is pressure. The transition from silence to hypersonic thrust is instantaneous. A blinding orange-white flame. brighter than a welding arc, scorches the earth. And now, finally, comes the smell. The air is instantly filled with a thick, choking white cloud. It smells of chlorine, ammonia, and rotten eggs. The smell of burning aluminum perchlorate composite propellant. The missile vanishes into the clouds, leaving behind a trail of acid smoke. High above, the MQ-9 Reaper is flying its final seconds. It is cruising at 200 knots. The giant interceptor is closing at Mach 7.6. Let's talk about that speed again. At Mach 7.6, the missile is not just moving through the air. It is compressing the air into a plasma sheath. It is pushing a bow shock that has a pressure differential of over 100 psi. The intercept is not a dogfight. It is an execution. The drone never sees it. The sound of the missile hasn't even arrived yet. Impact, or rather, proximity. The missile doesn't even need to hit the drone directly. The shockwave alone is enough, but it does hit. Flash. The kinetic energy transfer is 4 gigajoules. The materials of the drone, carbon fiber, epoxy, aluminum, are subjected to such intense pressure that they undergo a phase change. They do not break, they vaporize. A flash of light, bright enough to be seen from space, pulses for 3 milliseconds. The drone is gone. It has been converted into a cloud of black carbon dust and white steam, expanding into the thin air. Target destroyed! The cheer goes up in the Venezuelan command vehicle. They have drawn first blood. They have blinded the Americans, but the celebration is cut short. Alert! High-speed vampire! Zenith! The radar operator screams. The screen is showing a new contact. Fast, small, diving steep. The AGM-88G. Blink, blink, shut it down! The commander knows the drill. He slams the emergency shutoff. The massive hum of the grill pan radar dies. The high voltage systems cut out. The antenna stops broadcasting. The electronic jungle goes silent. They think they have won. They think they are invisible. They think the American missile will now lose its lock and drift harmlessly into the swamp. That is how it worked in 1999. That is how it worked in 2010. But this is 2026. High in the dive, the AGM-88G feels the target signal vanish. It does not get confused. It gets angry. The guidance computer triggers the counter-shutdown logic. The millimeter wave seeker in the nose activates. It begins to paint the ground with its own high-frequency radar. It scans the clearing where the S-300 is parked. It ignores the trees. It ignores the trucks. It looks for a specific geometry, a rectangular chassis, a tilted antenna face. Heat exchangers on the roof, processing. Target identified. It finds the silent, cold radar vehicle. The missile fins adjust. It corrects its course by 2 degrees. The crew inside the vehicle has no idea. They are sitting in the dark, listening to the cooling fans spin down, thinking they are safe. Impact. The warhead of the AGM-88G is the WDU-37B. It is not designed to level a city block. It is designed to perform open-heart surgery with a shotgun. It detonates 3 meters above the roof of the radar vehicle. The blast accelerates 12,800 preformed tungsten cubes outward in a focused ring. Tungsten, one of the hardest metals on Earth, 1.7 times denser than lead, moving at supersonic speeds. Crack, thud. The sound of the impact is sickening. It is the sound of metal being chewed. The tungsten cubes punch through the aluminum skin of the vehicle like it is paper. They shred the delicate phased array antenna face. They sever the waveguides. They puncture the high voltage transformer banks. They pass through the roof and into the crew compartment. Inside the vehicle, hell breaks loose. The tungsten fragments hit the capacitor banks. ZZZ-POP. Massive electrical arcing occurs. The energy stored in the radar's power supply discharges instantly. The air is filled with a blinding blue light and the overwhelming smell of ozone. It smells like a lightning strike trapped in a box. Then comes the smoke. The magic smoke of fried electronics, phenolic resins, and melting copper. It is over in a fraction of a second. The vehicle does not explode into a fireball, it just dies. Smoke pours from the shattered antenna. The electronics are turned into Swiss cheese. The crew is gone. The S-300 battery is effectively neutralized. The launchers are still there. They have plenty of missiles, but without the grill pan radar to guide them. Those missiles are just expensive fireworks. The battery is blind. It cannot see. It cannot track. It cannot fight. High above the F-35C, the pilot checks his display. The red threat ring has vanished. Magnum, splash, target system neutralized. Let's review the cost of this exchange. The Venezuelan military spent 2 missiles worth $3 million to destroy a drone worth $30 million. The United States Navy spent 1 missile worth $3.2 million to destroy a radar system worth $35 million. But the dollar amount is irrelevant. The strategic cost is total. Venezuela has lost the ability to deny this airspace. The door is now kicked open. The rest of the strike package, the Super Hornets, the Tomahawks, can now pour through the gap. This engagement proves a terrifying new reality of modern warfare. Speed is no longer enough. Armor is no longer enough. If you emit energy, you die. If you stop emitting energy to hide, you still die. The jungle returns to its humidity and its heat. The smell of ozone fades, replaced once again by the smell of rotting leaves. But the wreckage of the radar remains, a smoking monument to the fact that in the 21st century, there is no such thing as cover. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you in the next one.